Hello students, welcome back. Today we will discuss about the another three abiotic factors that are water, light and soil. These all abiotic factors are necessary for a particular habitat so that in that habitat various inhabitants can survive. So our second abiotic factor is water. As we know, the water is most important factor for survival of any organism because without water almost no organism can survive. So the water is also most important factor that influencing the life of any organism. Mainly the water is shortly described as mother of life. As you know, the water is universal solvent because it can dissolve many substances. And mainly if we talk about the evolution or the generation of life on earth. So firstly, the first living thing that produce in water. So we can say that the life is originated from the water, and then by gradually by the evolution the organisms start to live on the soil or inside the soil. The main source of water on the earth is almost rain, and the amount of water that is on earth is vary according to places. There are many places which has very low amount of water, and there are also many places which has higher amount of water. In the places where the water amount is very low like desert, then to survive in that condition that animal or plant should have to adapt themselves, then and then only they can survive in such harsh condition that is low amount of water. So in desert where the availability of water is so limited, then only spatial adaptation, that is in both plants and animals, make it possible for organism to live there. And here is some adaptation which requires to survive in desert like habitats, such as release of uric acid as their excretory substrate. Mainly the nitrogenous compound are the excretory compound that are ammonia, urea and uric acid. For the release of ammonia, higher amount of water required, and for urea, the normal level of water required. And for the release of uric acid, there is very low amount of water needed. So the animal which live in condition where the availability of water is already low, then they excrete uric acid as their excretory substrate. And many animals or some plants have adaptation to store the water. So when they need, they can use this stored water. And plants which live in desert condition have adapted that higher rate of photosynthesis. So it can produce a higher amount of food. So we have discussed about the places or habitat where the amount of water is low. But on every habitat on the earth has not lower amount of water. There are many regions which has larger amount of water like ponds, spring, sea or ocean, etc. In this situation, you may think that the organism which live in such habitats have not to face problems. But you are wrong, because there are many problems which has to face by that organism. And main problem which faced by the organism which living in such habitats are mainly depends on the quality of water, that is chemical composition of water, that is how many chemicals present and in which quantity that chemical is present. And mainly in chemical composition we will deal with the different types of salts which are present in the water. Then the second factor is pH, and the third factor is salinity. Mainly the salinity is the measurement of salt which are present in the water. The salinity of the water is different according to the type of water, and mainly it can be measured as in parts per thousand. So the water, like inland water, has less than 5% of salinity. Then the seawater has around 30 to 35, and the hypersaline lagoons have more than 100 salinity. So in hypersaline lagoons are that type of habitat in which the salt concentration is very high. There are many organisms which can tolerate a broad range or a narrow range of salinity. So on the basis of that we can divide the organism into two types, that is euryhaline or stenohaline. So first, euryhaline. The euryhaline organisms are able to adapt to a wide range of salinity, that is may from 5 to 100 salinity this particular organism can survive. And mainly euryhaline organisms are commonly found in habitats such as estuaries and tide pools. In these both habitats the salinity is continuously changing, and the organism which live in such condition can adapt themselves according to changes in the salinity. For example, the green carp, the green crab. The green crab is a type of crab, and it is a euryhaline invertebrate that can live in salt and brackish water also. Another example is fish, that is molly, and this fish can live in fresh water, brackish water and salt water, and in all these habitat the salinity is continuously getting changed, and these organisms can adapt themselves and they can survive in such changing salinity. The second type of organisms are stenohaline. The stenohalines are completely opposite to euryhaline, as the stenohaline organisms can survive within a narrow range of salinities. For example, the freshwater fish, that is goldfish, is a stenohaline, as it and only can live in fresh water, and it will die in environment of high salinity such as ocean. And other example is marine fish, haddock, which can only survive in marine condition, and this fish will die in the water which has lower salinity. The freshwater fish cannot survive in the ocean or salt water because the seawater is too salty for them, because the salinity of the freshwater is very low compared to the ocean or other salt water. And the organisms which live in fresh water, they have there is very low amount of salts. In such condition, the water inside the bodies of freshwater organism will flow out from their cells, and by this they will be die because of the dehydration, as the all water from their body will be removed by the exoosmosis. And similarly, the saltwater fish cannot survive in fresh water because the body of saltwater fish is highly concentrated of salt solution. The water would flow into their body until all their cells accumulate so much water that they bloat and die eventually. Because in such animals, the water is continuously moving inside the body of that organism. That is like endoosmosis. And because of this extra water, the body of that particular organism will be bloat and eventually that organism will die. So mainly the problem with osmosis, and because of these osmotic problems, the freshwater organisms cannot survive in saltwater, and saltwater organisms cannot survive in freshwater. Our third abiotic factor is light. Light is most important abiotic factor, as without light, life cannot exist. All the organisms directly or indirectly are mainly depend on light. All the plants are depend on light for their energy or photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process that happen only in the presence of sunlight. And by the photosynthesis, the plants or the chlorophyll containing organism do a process by which they can produce a food, and this food will be used by that particular plants and also other animals. So the plant depend on light for their energy and photosynthesis, and all the animals are depend on plants. So all the animals indirectly are depend on light. And on the earth, the main light source is the sun, and mainly the sunlight is formed of electromagnetic waves, and light is a form of energy called radiant energy. If we talk about forest, then there is various size of plant, that is there can be herb, shrubs and tall plants also. Many species of plants like herbs and shrubs that are growing in forest are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under very light condition, because they are constantly overshadowed by tall plants. As the tall plants are present on the top of forest, so the light which comes to the forest are mainly absorbed by these large plants, and very low portion of sun rays reach to these smaller plants like herbs and shrubs. So they are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under very light condition. There are many activity of plants and animals which are depends on light. If we talk about plants, the first thing is opening or closing of the stomata is regulated by light. If the light is very high, then stomatas are closed, and if light is very low, then the stomatas are open. And light is mainly indirectly affect the transpiration rates through increasing the temperature. As the temperature increases, the transpiration rates also increases, and the decrease in temperature also decrease the transpiration rate. If we talk about animals, then the increase in the intensity of light may result in the formation of color pigment. And because of this, the cave animals are mainly colorless, and mainly the organisms which live in that habitat where the sunlight is very high, then they have most colored pigment. In birds, the light intensity initiate the breeding activities. Then many plants are also dependent on the sunlight to meet their photoperiodic requirements for flowering. Many other plants and animals use diurnal and seasonal variation in light intensity and light duration. So the duration of time for which the light is available is known as photoperiod. And they use these all things for their foraging, reproductive and migratory activities. You know about the seasonal crops, that are particular crops will grow in that particular season, because all the crop plants are not available or cannot grow in all the conditions. There are many habitats on the earth where the environment is very dark, and inhabitants in that area are not aware about the something like sun, that are very deep region. For example, the deep in ocean that are more than 500-meter depth. In such habitat, there are many organisms which can survive. For example, bacteria, algae, diatoms, etc. If we talk about solar spectrum, then solar spectrum has mainly three bands, that is ultraviolet, visible and infrared. Mainly the UV spectrum of solar spectrum is very harmful for the organisms which lives on earth, as it causes many problems for animals and plants, like skin cancer in animals, and it will cause degradation of chlorophyll in the plants. So in a very unique or very harsh condition where the all the solar spectrum cannot reach, there are organisms which can survive in that region, that is mainly algae. There are mainly three types of algae found in the ocean, that is red algae, green algae and brown algae. We named it according to the pigments which they carry. Mainly the red algae is containing pigment like phycoerythrin, which is red in color, and because of this pigment this algae appears red. Then the second, green algae has chlorophyll as its pigment, and because of the chlorophyll the color of this algae is green. And the third, brown algae has a pigment fucoxanthin, and because of this fucoxanthin the appearance of this algae is brown. So among three of these algae, mainly the red algae is found very deep in the ocean, because the red algae has a phycoerythrin, and this phycoerythrin can absorb the waves which has shortest wavelength, and these are the only waves which can penetrate under the depth of more than 500 meters. So in ocean mainly the red algae are found in bottom. Our fourth abiotic factor is soil. Soil is suitable substrate and medium for plants and animals, because almost all the plants, animals microbes, fungi, etc. can live in or on the soil. Mainly the soil is bridge between inorganic or organic material which is found on earth. According to Treshaw, that is an ecologist, the soil is a complex physical ecological system which providing support, water, nutrients and oxygen for plants. If we talk about India, there are various types of soil found and each soil has different properties and different characteristics. And this nature and property of soil is depend mainly on the climate surrounding the soil, then the weathering process, then whether soil is transported or sedimentary, that is by the flow of river there is many part of soil which get accumulated and from this part the soil is generated. And sedimentary means by the process of sedimentation soil is formed. Then the other factor is how the soil development occur. These are the main factors which affect the nature and property of soil. The characteristic of soils like composition of soil, that is what it carries, then grain size and aggregation etc. determines the percolation and water holding capacity of soil. Then there are many characteristics which define that which type of vegetation or which type of animal will survive in that soil. And these characteristics are pH, mineral composition and its topography. Mainly there is three type of soil, that is sandy soil, loam soil and clay soil. If first we talk about sandy soil, then it has large portion of sand. That's why it is known as sandy soil. It is very lightweight soil because of the high ratio of sand, and it has very low water holding capacity and also very less amount of nutrients. Because the sand particles have very large space between them, so the water will be drained from this sandy soil and the water holding capacity will be lower of that type of soil. Then the second type is loam soil. The loam soil has around 25% of sand and other part is of clay. It has a average water holding capacity and it has a good amount of nutrients. Then the third is a clay soil. The clay soil has higher water holding capacity, and in this type of soil the clay particles have very small size, and because of this the water holding capacity of this type of soil is very high and the fertility of such soil is also very high. So this was the all abiotic factors. It's your today's homework.